Welcome to episode 2 of Stayin Alive with me, Jesse Smith, a podcast about staying afloat in the ever-changing ocean that is the creative arts industries. Thank you so much to all of you who tuned in for our first ever episode on Monday with Pete Thorne. If you haven't heard it yet, you can go back and download it from wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe as we have tons of amazing guests lined up in the coming weeks. Podcasts are a wonderful thing, and I've never found them so important as in this isolation period. They can keep us occupied during the hoovering, keep us company when we're feeling lonely, and also give us some sense of routine when we know our favourite pod is dropping tomorrow. From now on, every Monday, Stayin Alive will be floating from the sky onto your device, and we really need and appreciate your support. Please subscribe, and if you can, pop over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review, as that massively helps us get noticed by other podcast listeners. This, along with word of mouth, is the best and easiest way to help us grow, so please shout it from the rooftops. Today's guest is a pop rock starlet and singing sensation. She has written some of the biggest hits of the 80s, including Heart and Soul, Valentine and China in Your Hand. Her band TPau's first album, Bridge of Spies, went quadruple platinum in the UK, and they continue to tour and play festival shows to this day. Their brand new single, Be Wonderful, along with the lockdown video, is out now, so go and check that out after the pod. Speaking to me in between gin and tonics from her home in Henley, today's guest is the very brilliant Carol Decker. Just as a little disclaimer for this episode, with us being in lockdown, we're having to record all these conversations over Skype, and sometimes the sound quality isn't as perfect as we'd like it to be, so please bear with us.
I just think if the government could say 2 more weeks and we'll start easing up, if we all had something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And listening to the radio, people are already saying since the announcement of extended lockdown, they are seeing an increase in traffic and people at bus stops because people are just fed up and they're going, fuck it, I'm going out, or
right,
I'm getting a job at Tesco's or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a weird one because for me, we're recording, by the way, so
okay.
We've been going out a bit, like going to the park and stuff, because we've got a lovely park just around the corner from us. But I sort of feel guilty every time I leave the house, every time I even just go for a walk. And I know I shouldn't, because it's, you've got to get out at some point. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't, because firstly, we're blessed living in a smaller town with some space. Yeah. And secondly, everybody is observing the distancing, which is quite funny because you're walking along in a field. There's a dog walking field opposite us, and you'll see a person coming towards you the other way, like 50, 100 yards away. And then this strange choreography goes on of, do I go to the left? If he goes to the left, I'll go to the right. If he goes to the right, I'll go to the left.
Yeah.
But it has made my daughter really nervous to leave the house, and I had to really persuade her to come to the supermarket with me because I didn't want her to be paranoid. And we do have some masks, because Richard is in a search and rescue team, so he's got a little bit of gear anyway, protect, PPE, just a couple of masks in his bag. And I said, here, have one of Dad's masks. And she was incredibly nervous. And I find as long as people keep their distance, I'm not actually nervous.
Yeah,
I don't feel guilty about leaving the house because we are responsible when we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We went for a little drive the other day actually, and we just because obviously we're in West London, so it's quite built up, and there's always people around, wherever we go. So we drove out, and we just felt so guilty. We drove down to Marlow, and we just parked in a car park and just walked around this like abandoned sort of down by the river. Nobody was there. It was like totally empty, and we literally sat down we must have been there we had a little walk, and then we sat on a bench for about 6 minutes, and we're looking around for like the park police to come and arrest us.
Oh, you were so close to me.
Just for sick. I know, exactly.
Well, I've seen in Henley a few people just sat in the middle of the field. So, they put their bikes down, sat for a 5-minute rest. They're not near anybody. No one's near them. I'm not going to call the police.
Yeah.
And as long as people are not near each other, there have been some oafs in our local supermarket who just blunder through and don't give a shit about the footprints marked out on the floor, and that
the one-way system. That's winding me up when people aren't doing the one-way system.
Yeah, and I'm not paranoid about it, but I'm respectful. But they're annoying me, and I have turned around and glared. There's one guy just standing on my shoulder last night. I popped to the local shop just to top up on the tonic. The gin and tonic's going down well, and he was just he just kind of walked through the supermarket really fast, pushing past people, and then just stood right behind me, kind of clearly was impatient. And I turned around and just gave him the death stare. So he stepped back.
Well, you can't teach pork, can you?
I know exactly. Yeah.
So the burning question on the nation's lips at the moment is, how's your watercress germinating?
It's tall, it's big, and Richard says another, I don't know, centimetre, and it's ready to go into an egg and cress sandwich.
Amazing. I obviously saw that on Twitter. You're quite active on Twitter, aren't you?
I like Twitter. It's in the Times today.
Is it in the Times, is it?
Everybody
Wow.
sent me a picture. I've had 3 people text me a picture.
Amazing. I guess it's a good platform for you because it's short and sweet, and you're not someone who beats around the bush, so it's good. You can get your point across. And
I quite like it. Well, my main aim is to, and what I hated with the whole 3 years of Brexit was that everything got really nasty. Really, really nasty. All the fun went out of it. And it made me sad. But now I know this is a serious matter. Of course, it's a very serious matter. But I think it's my job to cheer people up.
yeah,
I'm just putting up stupid pictures and jokes and just trying to make people laugh, really.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. I like to crack a gag, you know me.
yeah, exactly. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. That's what we need.
I'm not so good on the Insta because I just keep forgetting to do it. But I think that really suits some people.
Yeah.
Jess, all her makeup's amazing.
Yeah, Jess, for those of you that don't know, is Jess Cheatham. She's an amazing makeup artist.
Yeah.
And she's great friends with, obviously, my girlfriend Bea, and our sort of
Our shared
mutual friends. Exactly, our shared guitarist. So
exactly, yeah.
Why don't you explain how you stole my guitarist?
How I stole your guitarist? Okay, well, this is going back a few years because you two are knocking on a bit. I can't believe James is 30. I'm going to have to get a young, hot guitarist.
We're past it. We're totally past it.
It's more years ago than I care to remember. It's 7 years ago, I think. And we had some new neighbours move in next to us with their kids. And their son started drumming. We could hear all this drumming. And my son showed an interest in drumming, so we bought him a kit. He was only 10 at the time. And then my neighbour said, Dylan was having his lessons at school. And they said, you should try our drum teacher. He also teaches guitar. And so I got James's number and he came round. And then Richard, my husband, also plays guitar. He said to James, would you give me a couple of guitar lessons? So I was in the kitchen and they were just in the hall by the piano and noodling around. And I thought, really good, but he was only he was 23 or something.
That's right.
And so I said, do you want to do some playing for me? And I've been asked to do an acoustic gig for Bodine's restaurants.
Yeah.
It was like their annual party or something like that. And so I got James, and I don't know if you know Mim Gray. She's an amazing backing vocalist. And Matt Backer, who's another fantastic guitarist that I work with, and James. And James just took over the rehearsal. He had a natural authority. He's got like a mind like a steel trap for the chords and the notes, and and he just bossed us all around.
As a 23-year-old.
Yeah, that was it. And then he's been my wingman and yours for longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
We haven't had a clash yet, have we? I don't know what we're going to do when that happens.
Yeah, he's not a very argumentative person, is he? I mean, I've known Ashby obviously.
No, not me and him, me and you.
Oh, us two.
The bands haven't had a clash.
I see what you mean.
We have to take it outside then if we need him on the same night.
No worries. I think you'd win that one, to be honest, Carol. Yeah, I mean, obviously I've known Ashby since I was about 10, and I think we started writing songs together when we were 14 or whatever. So he's a good lad, and he's always. I call him like the utility man, because he always just plays the right thing. I think you always need someone in a band like that who can just...
Makes him sound like a plumber.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's not too complimentary. But do you know what I mean, though? Like, there's flashier guitarists out there, but he always just does the right thing for the song, and I think that's a really important skill to have.
He has got a beautiful, beautiful touch. He really has. And he looks great, and because you two both went to like stage school and you've done work in movies and stuff, he's got a great sense of performance.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I love it. Love being on stage with him. And what makes me laugh is Ronnie Rogers, who's the sort of other founder member of TPau with me, who co-wrote all of our songs and all of our hits, can never, ever remember the chords to any middle eight he ever wrote. And so I'll be in the middle of them on stage, and I know there's a middle eight coming up, and I'll see Ron just look across the stage, and I'll look at James, and he's mouthing B minor, like in the middle of a show.
While I remember, actually, Ashby told me this story a little while ago about you were doing a big festival, and your keyboard player, is his name Carsten? Is that his name?
Carsten, yeah.
Yeah, apparently he hadn't changed the patch and so basically he started playing China in Your Hand in like basically a semitone up to how you were normally playing it or something. And then Ashby just sort of heard and sort of like just really lightly tapped his guitar. It's like, yeah, we're a semitone out to what we've rehearsed, and had to run around each member of the band individually during the intro, unbeknownst to you, I imagine, because you were singing it.
Yeah.
And so that when that first big chord came in the chorus, that you were all in tune. I thought that was an amazing story. Just the panic.
No, I know. Things like that don't happen very often, but fantastically they can cope. James can cope with stuff like that. He's brilliant at it.
Yeah.
And the whole band are great. You know, I get to work with some just stonking people. I'm really grateful for that.
Well, do you mind if we go back to the beginning and just talk about how the band formed and where you grew up and stuff? So you were born near Merseyside, is that right? And then you moved down to...
I was born in Huyton, which is a sort of suburb of Liverpool, and we left when I was 7. So I don't know Liverpool incredibly well, really, because I grew up in Shropshire. We moved to Shropshire. Mm-hmm. And that was quite kind of, I probably love it now, but growing up, when I got to about 16, I got very bored because it's rural, it's all countryside.
Yeah.
And went to school in Wellington, and then I went to art school in Shrewsbury. And when I was at art school, I sort of met different kinds of people. A lot of people in the music business went to art school, and you sort of meet very... I'd gone to, just to backtrack, I'd gone to a very straight girls' grammar school where I always felt like a, square peg round hole. Yeah, and then finally I sort of got to art school and sort of met like-minded people and got invited to a party, got chatting to someone who was a guitarist. And I'd always fancied having a go at singing. I knew I could sing because I always got a lot of compliments if I sang along to anything as a kid, and I could always harmonise very easily. And so I auditioned for this band, and we literally were a garage band in a drummer's garage, which was inconveniently located on a farm in Ludlow, which was 20 miles away from Shrewsbury. Right. So we used to do a 40-mile round trip to rehearse in this freezing garage. And we would gig as a covers band to earn money. And then we would also be writing our own thing and sending tapes away. And in those days, it was, you made a demo tape. you'd go into a little local studio, get some songs down, make a demo cassette, and send it off to the record companies, try and get an A&R person's name, although sometimes it would just be generic, the A&R department, And back then, the record industry was so different. All the big labels had regional offices. So you hope to get the scout from Birmingham, or in our case, Birmingham, Wolverhampton was our closest, biggest cities. So try and get them to come to your gigs, or try and get a gig in London. And that was always quite hard because, we'd have to travel all the way from Shrewsbury to London, which was like 3 hours. And our guitarist, he was also the manager of the local music store. So we used to get the PA. You had to take your PA with you in those days as well.
Yeah.
So, we'd have to wait for Julian to finish work, load up the PA, and he had the van. And often people were in the van because they had a van.
yeah, absolutely.
He was actually a very good guitarist as well. And so we'd leave Shrewsbury at 6 and get to some crap hole like the Sir George Robey in Archway, he's probably gone now, and play to the bartender and his dog and the A&R guy who promised he'd turn up, didn't. And it was just a slog. I would imagine it's probably still similar in some ways, but we didn't have social media. You didn't have YouTube. You couldn't build a platform. You had to do it old school, just, play in clubs and pubs and hope somebody noticed you, came to see you. So you'd send your tapes off and hope they'd come and see you. And after what seemed like an eternity, and by this time I'd met Ronnie. He was in another local band, and we'd met, and we really liked each other, so we got personally involved, and he left his band and joined mine. And then finally we got some record company attention. We got some management in London.
How long was it since you sort of started gigging like that and doing the slog, like you said, till you actually sort of got that attention? Because obviously this podcast is called Stayin Alive, and the point of it is trying to sort of stories for people that are sort of maybe up and coming or trying to start out by themselves. I know obviously it's a lot different these days, but how long were you? How long were you sort of slugging it out?
Well, I was late to the party. I was 22 when I finally decided to go for it and, try it as a career. And I was 26 by the time we got London management. So, that was 4 years of kind of just doing the rounds, and being the unwelcome interruption in the bingo in some working man's club.
That was... we always talk about, I was talking to my friend Wayne the other day about this as well, about the kind of the Hamburg thing and the sort of 10,000 hours. And that it sounds like that period was probably that for you, if you were just gigging all the time, because you learn on the job, don't you? You learn how to be on stage and how to look after your voice and all that stuff,
Well, funnily enough, Roy Thomas Baker, who eventually went on to produce our first 2 albums, who produced Queen, Bo Rap, loads of people, the Cars, Motley Crue, you name it. He came to see us in Hamburg.
Wow.
We were playing, what's it called? Grosser Height or something. It was a big club. I think the Beatles had played there. It had been there for a long time. And he came to see us there. So 4 years to get the management.
Yeah.
And then another 2 years with that management. And we were sort of elevating ourselves a little in terms of the gigs we were doing and the people we were meeting, but we were still getting this kind of close but no cigar reaction to everything we did. And then finally, when I was like 28, and I was thinking, oh my God, I always looked really, really, really young. And it didn't occur to me that my age would be a problem until people were pointing out, oh my God, she's nearly 30. That's like geriatric in terms of us trying to sell her as a pop star. Of course, it's different for girls, as Joe Jackson said. Finally, we got a positive response from a label called Siren, and Siren were owned by Virgin. Back then, Virgin had a load of little labels. They had Circa and 10 and Siren, and they all had different sort of identities like dance and hip hop, and we were more kind of pop rock. And they put us into this studio called Nomis, which is one of the biggest rehearsal studios in London, in Shepherd's Bush. And that was exciting. That was super exciting, just being there. And they came to see us, and we did a showcase. And we did 3 songs. And the reason we did 3 songs is we didn't have a band.
Right.
Ronnie and I had branched out, had left the local band. My dad lent us some money, and we got home recording stuff, and we just invested in that. And then when we finally got an opportunity to showcase, we we didn't have a keyboard player, and we'd been working with a guitarist and a drummer that our management had introduced us to. We took a bass player from Shrewsbury, just to do that. And the keyboard player we just sent him the tapes, and he said he'd learned them. And then he didn't turn up till like almost quarter of an hour before the record company were due to arrive. And I'm telling you, I've never been so nervous in my life. I felt like this was my last chance.
Wow.
And I was going to kill this guy. His name was Scotty. I was going to fucking murder him. And he walked in. He's Scottish guy. He walked in and just aced it. And I later went on. His name's escaping me now, which is no good for the interview. But I later went on to discover that he's one of the most multi-talented musicians you'll ever meet. He can play anything. I hadn't met people like that. You play guitar, or you played keyboards, or you were the drummer. But, you can play loads of things. And going back to Ashby, he can drum, he can play keys, he can play piano, and he can play guitar. I didn't meet people like that. So, I absolutely wanted to murder him. And I'd never met a session guy either. That session guy is just, you send them the tapes and the charts, and they learn it.
They learn it in the car on the way there, and they just nail it, don't they?
Yeah, no, our band, everything was like pulling teeth. We were really bad musicians. So we had to rehearse for hours to get it right. So when he didn't turn up till 15, 20 minutes before the record company were due to watch us and listen to us, I was having kittens.
I bet.
But anyway, it went really well, and the record company siren said, let's do it. Right in front of us, let's do it. And we all shook on it, and we were just, I think we went out and got completely pissed in some pub around the corner.
I don't blame you.
And then we were on Virgin internationally, because that was the mother label. And then, obviously, I can't go through my life in real time.
No.
It's going to take too long. And the rest, as they say, is history, And we went out to America. We were outside Chicago doing Bridge of Spies. And that was kind of like a huge album. And then we did Rage with Roy as well, which was also a platinum album, which was absolutely fantastic. We moved on to another producer called Andy Richards to do The Promise, which went top 10, a couple of top 20 singles off it, but it was all starting to tip the other way. And people were losing interest, unfortunately. These things happen. I can talk about it philosophically now. At the time, it really hurt, and I was in a mad panic,
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it happens to a lot of bands, and, it does. It's a bit like being, I don't know, a sports person or something. For a lot of people, it's a short life and a merry one, isn't it? It's a kind of an exhausting career. But then, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, but obviously it's kind of gone full circle now, because you're still out there doing it. You've got obviously still a massive fan base who come out to see you, and you tour, and so how did you go from that to where you are now? Like, obviously there was some bad times, like you're saying, but obviously
there were. So if we skim across the 90s, the original lineup broke up in 91. We got dropped by the label, and then Ronnie and I broke up on a personal level in 93, and that was really, really hard. And I was in a mess, frankly. I just kind of didn't know what to do with myself. No one was interested. Oh my God, had the music scene changed? You were talking about the Stone Roses, Blur, Oasis, Farm, you name it, all these bands. And we were just a joke. An 80s pop rock band, we were a joke. The musical scene had changed completely. And so I just kind of, fortunately, because I'd written all the hits with Ron, I'd made a little bit of money, and I was able to probably indulge myself too much in just, kicking back and not really being very productive. I went out to the States for a while, got friends out there. I was living out in LA for about 4 months. And then I came back, and I started doing a bit of radio presenting and stuff like that, because it's a bit of a name, the phone would ring now and again and say, hey, do you want to do a little bit for Virgin or something? So it kept me busy, and I did a bit of writing. Publisher kept putting me in to write with different people, but didn't really come up with anything, never got anywhere. And then in 97, I met a guy called Will Ashurst, who had he'd worked for EMI, and he had his own video production company. And we got chatting in the pub at the end of my road, just at the bar. And we got on like a house on fire, and he put a band around me, which consisted of his brother Jez and Dave Hattie's still playing drums for me now.
Yeah.
And I started gigging again. And he introduced me to Richard, my now husband. And I just started building back up. And I started doing some acting. I did some West End. I did a couple of sort of low-key television roles. And just things started coming my way, little opportunities. And then in 2001, I got a call from a promoter called Tony Denton saying, do you want to go on an 80s arena tour with Paul Young, Kim Wilde, Go West and China Crisis? We use a big house band, jump on, do 20 minutes. And it was like, like the Wembley, the SEC, the NEC, all places like that, which we used to sell out ourselves. So I was like, oh yeah, it'd be great to be back on those big stages, even for 20 minutes. And that was the start of it. And so the 80s renaissance just hasn't stopped and keeps me really busy, as you know.
Yeah, it seems like the 80s is just, it's been in renaissance for the last, 15 years or something.
It's ridiculous. And I have lots to be grateful for. I would love it. I'm putting a new single out on May the 8th, a download single called Be Wonderful. And I put out I'm not massively productive, I've got to admit. We've had an album out and a couple of download singles. And it's frustrating not to get attention for your new stuff, especially if you feel enthusiastic about it. That's always a bit frustrating. But, don't get out your tiny violin, because I still do really well and work a lot, and I have a great life, I drive Ronnie up the wall, who just loves, because I still do most of my writing with him, and he loves just working for the work's sake.
Yeah.
And I'm not as honourable or as altruistic as that. I'm like, no, I want to be on the telly. I want to hear everybody clapping.
Yeah.
But then I'm a lead singer,
Exactly.
I'm a peacock. I'm not going to sit in the corner of a fucking wine bar and play my guitar just for the love of music. I was never that person. No.
Totally. I just want to ask about, just go back to something you mentioned earlier. When you were talking about that audition, you said you played 3 songs. Which 3 songs were they? Had you written what was going to be the hits by then?
Okay. They were... Oh my God, can I remember? They were On the Wing, which ended up as a B-side. Monkey House,
which
is a favourite album track with all our fans.
Yeah.
Valentine. Now, Valentine was the track that was getting us all the attention.
It's a brilliant song.
Thank you.
I love that song. It's probably my favourite, I think. When you guys play it live, it's gorgeous. I really love that song. Thanks,
I love it too. And do you know what really drives me nuts? No radio stations play it when Valentine's Day is coming up. It's like it's been forgotten. I know, it was top 10 and everything. Thank you. I love it. So that was the one that was getting all the attention. So Heart and Soul wasn't written. China in Your Hand wasn't written. So it was Valentine that they were all going, okay, she can sing. This is good, So it was Monkey House, Ringing a Prayer, and Valentine.
When you write a song like China in Your Hand, did you just, when you'd finished it, did you just go, this is a fucking hit? Did you know? Because obviously it was 5 weeks at number 1 or something crazy, wasn't it? And
it was. No, we were out at the studio, and it was Lake Geneva. We were out in Wisconsin, just outside Chicago, and we were working on the album with Roy Thomas Baker, and one track, and I can't remember what it was, just wasn't working. So we just got fed up. Roy said, we're polishing a turd here. It's just not working. We need another track. And Ronnie and I had started China. It didn't get us our deal, as I told you, because it didn't even exist. But so we kept, you keep writing all the time. So we had this cassette. I had a cassette with me of the very early piano and sort of sketchy outline of the melody and the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And I put out an autobiography a few years ago, and when I was going through my boxes to find interesting things to go in it, I found, and I hadn't laid eyes on this for nearly 30 years myself, my original notebook with all the original lyrics in, with all the bits crossed out and the subject, it's better said like this, So that actually put a lump in my throat to see those early notes that I'd scribbled out in America, because Roy said, let me hear this. I said, I've got this cassette. This is all I've got. We don't really have another song ready. He said, let me hear it. And he just went, that's a hit. Just on the piano and vocal, dodgy early demo cassette in my pocket. Because that's what made him the great producer that he was. He could hear it, He had an objective.
Well, it's all about the song, Carol, at the end of the day. And you were saying earlier, you don't play this and you don't play that, but at the end of the day, it's the song. It always wins, doesn't it? And when you're writing songs like that, obviously they were going to always happen.
But the thing about China is it works beautifully, just piano vocal. It works beautifully, acoustic guitar and vocal, because it's a traditional old style song.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then Roy put all the strings and the bells and whistles behind it, like he does, because he does massive production. And then just lately, last year, 2019, I had the privilege of performing with the London Philharmonic.
Yeah, I saw some videos of that.
Yeah. And Opera North Orchestra and Leeds. And so it really scales up orchestrally as well. So,
definitely. Well, a great song works in different formats, doesn't it?
It does, and Ronnie and I did write it, and I'll take full credit for that, and thank you. But no, you never know. Otherwise, we could all, you could figure out how to write a number one every week, couldn't you?
Yeah.
It's that je ne sais quoi, and the television program has absolutely ruined this expression, but it's the X factor. It's a magical ingredient.
And the right song at the right time as well. And
yes, timing. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Totally. Another thing I really wanted to ask, because obviously I've known you for a few years, and you don't take any shit and you speak your mind and stuff. But what was it like as a young female at that time in the 80s in obviously what's a really male dominated industry? Did you have to deal with any shit? You obviously said earlier it's different for girls, but I know you were dating Ronnie and you were with him, so that might have helped, I suppose. But I just wanted to ask if it was rough being a female in the industry when you first started out.
I didn't notice it. Maybe I was protected by being in a relationship. I don't know, because I didn't have to. I had a few unsavory moments with a few men, but I wasn't ever in danger. One, for example, was a really, really, really big music publisher, the head of Chrysalis Publishing. And, he invited me to a meeting. I was on my way back to Monmouth because Ronnie and I had purchased a place up there and we had our studio installed. And he said, I'm going to Bristol, why don't we there's a great restaurant on the way. Should we hook up there, finish the meeting? Then, we can both fire up the M4. And I was like, yeah, sure, that makes sense, because I lived in London at the time, And, of course, he said, another glass of wine. I went, no, I'm driving, thanks. And he went, well, there are rooms here. And even then I went, yeah, I know. So, we could finish this upstairs. And I suddenly went, oh, I didn't realise. I was never looking for it. I never, ever used my looks to get me anywhere. Not outside of when I step on a stage, I hope I look nice. I would, we all, like to think we're attractive or make the most of ourselves. But that was never like, oh, let's just hoy up my Gothard Wonder Bra and see if I can get a record deal.
Yeah.
I was never that girl, so I was never looking for it. And it used to hit me smack in the middle of the head going, oh, shit, he was trying it on. I didn't even realise, I was so maybe naive's the word. I just wasn't looking out for that kind of thing, so it would take me by surprise when it happened. But I didn't have anything dangerous happen to me. And I don't think I'm the kind of girl that attracts it either. And in terms of glass ceiling. Maybe that was there, but again, I had my head down working hard. You know what I mean? I was just writing songs, recording, touring. I now I'm older, and I'm in my 60s now. So I think when I got to my mid 50s, I started feeling the sort of the pinch of my age in terms of, I think in our business it probably it is different for girls, but I think it's probably the same for guys a little bit too. You're a good-looking guy that fronts a band, and part of your gifts, isn't it? It doesn't hurt to be easy on the eye along with what you do.
It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because I look at shows like The Voice and stuff like that, and it's a lovely it's a lovely thought to sit there with your eyes closed and listen to someone sing and go, oh, aren't they brilliant? But it is about the package, isn't it? It's about how you perform and how you look and whether you connect with people.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I never was sure about that, because it almost devalues the way that you look and perform, and that's a big part of you, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think I just took being young and reasonably attractive for granted. I think since I've gotten older, I feel that, I sort of see pictures of myself and think, oh, really? Because in my head, I'm still that girl. And it's hard to come to terms with what I really look like now I'm older. So in that regard, maybe the industry doesn't let you grow up. There's a bit of Peter Pan about it. And, maybe you infantilize yourself and you don't mature because you think, I need to always be that girl when anybody sees me.
The thing is as well nowadays, though, Carol, is that, I get this all the time when you're on stage and, there might be like a proper pro photographer then. They take great pictures and they send them to you via Dropbox, and you get to pick the ones you like and then you can post them. But these days, people, they're right down the front. They've got a shitty little camera. They take a picture of you with like 5 double chins, and then they post them all over your wall. And you're like, fuck off, mate. I don't want... So it happens to all of us, and there's almost no filter of it these days. So look at these brilliant pictures I took of Jesse's nose hairs,
Yeah, I know, and it's horrible, but what can you do? I just have to calm myself down and say, don't be silly. But we're in a tough business, and it belongs to the young, our business. A lot of it does, and I think I've got to move out of young pop star into mature singer.
Well,
and I think it's holding on to that. I'm a sort of sexy girl fronting a rock band. You have to let that go at some point and become an artist.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's hard to let yourself grow up.
Yeah, I think also, especially when you're the front person in a band, you have such a tendency to overthink everything. And at the end of the day, Carol, people are coming to see you because they love your voice and love your songs. And I'm sure they all leave having had a wonderful time. And all the turmoil that you go through as an artist off stage is kind of irrelevant, really, isn't it? To them anyway.
No, they've paid to have a good time, and you've got to make sure that they have it.
Exactly.
And I can't wait to get back on a stage.
I know. Have you had to cancel a lot of shows? Have you?
I haven't cancelled them, but they've all been pulled. So every single one for the entire year. I had a load of orchestral shows in Germany that were in November, and because Germany's got a different lockdown ease up to us, the promoter was hopeful it's going to continue. But the other day I had a whole load of substitute dates for next November, which they haven't said we're pushing it back to next November, but I think that's the first step. They're just saying, if we have to push it back to next November, can you do these dates instead?
I was actually in Germany at the time. We flew to Germany. I was like, these gigs aren't going to happen, guys. And they were like, yeah, it's fine. The promoter's saying we're going ahead. Yeah. And I was at the airport and I was like, okay, whatever, I'll come, because obviously I wanted to get paid. And then we got to the hotel, we had dinner, we went to bed, we woke up, the whole tour had been cancelled. Wow. And we flew home the next day. But we were actually really lucky because I think if we'd have been if it had been like 2 days later, we would have been stuck because I think there was a lockdown totally on flights and stuff.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have got home. It's just, that's what I mean. You know, I'm having an easy lockdown. I'm in my home. I've got a garden. I can walk my dog. I can pop to the supermarket. In fact, the thrill of my day is, instead of going to Tesco, sometimes I drive to the little co-op in the neighbouring village, and that's the highlight of my day. Going to different.
You know what? Yesterday, me and Bea, my girlfriend, we went to a little. Went for a like daily walk around the park, but there's a little restaurant just opposite us called Siculo, which is awesome. Italian. It's like a Sicilian restaurant, and we've been getting coffee just because we miss having a proper coffee. And we went in there. We were like, guys, any chance you could do like a prosecco takeaway? And they were like, yeah, no worries. So we had prosecco in coffee cups and walked around the park. And
I'm so jealous.
It was so nice. We were giggling like little schoolgirls because we were just like, we felt so naughty that we were like drinking and outside. It's bizarre, like the small pleasures.
I love the pub. I'm not a sophisticated person. All I do, in fact, when I met my husband, I met him in a pub. I love a pub. I just love a pub. Couple of drinks in a pub. It's my church. You know, you get chatting to people. You put the world to rights, don't you? Sort it all out. And I miss that. And although you can drink at home as much as you like, it's not the same.
Yeah, I have to say, when I asked you to do this podcast, you texted me back saying, yeah, I don't mind having a chat, I'm just drinking anyway. So I should have called this podcast Legitimizing Day Drinking with Jesse.
I know, well, it was just when you said, how productive are you being? And I thought, oh, God, I'm not. But anyway, sorry, on that note, I'm probably jumping from topic to topic.
That's all right.
No, I said we're putting a single out on May the 8th called Be Wonderful. Yeah. I have done a lockdown video.
Oh, awesome.
So my kids, Scarlett and Dylan, have both done creative media production courses, so they know how to edit and film and storyboard and everything. So we've done the video at home, starring me, the chickens, the ducks, and the dog.
Amazing. That sounds good.
So hopefully we can get that up on social media and stuff and put the word out. And
Well, as soon as this goes out, we'll obviously give it a plug as well. We'll put it in all the. It'll be on this. And you've got a book out as well, right? I'd love a copy of that. I haven't read it.
I'll have to get you on. It's called Heart and Soul.
Yeah.
And it's up on Amazon, I think.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's a couple of years old now, but it's still relevant, and it got really nice reviews, because I tell you what, it's nerve-wracking doing an autobiography, because firstly, I really had to be talked into it, because I'm like, I'm not Madonna, who cares, but the way I wrote it was, I wrote it from a sort of how you get from sleepy Shrewsbury to the top 5 in the States, because it's not like I said, I left Liverpool. I didn't grow up in that great musical city, and I certainly didn't grow up in trendy London. So how do you get from Shropshire with a bit of straw hanging out your mouth to the top of the charts, hanging out with Charles and Diana and Debbie Harry and Elton John and all, So I wrote it, the unlikely rise, and then the sort of professional banana skins you slip on along the way, and there's a little bit of personal stuff in there too, obviously, about the things that went right and went wrong in my life, like everybody else's. And it got nice reviews, and that's good. So it's as you're all in lockdown, folks, you need to buy it. It's good read.
Absolutely. And then obviously it's a difficult question to answer, but what's next? What's next for you guys when this is all over?
Well, in the short term, we're putting the thing that we've got. Ronnie and I got 3 songs in the can before lockdown.
Cool.
That we wrote with Ashby and Luke, our bass player, and another one with our keyboard player, Carsten. So we've got them down. I've done the video for the first one, like I said, so we can put a couple of singles out. We can pop them out, keep those going. And there are other ways of getting videos done, which is really intriguing. You can get animated lyric videos. Have you seen those?
Yeah, they're really good, actually.
Yeah, these companies who say, a couple £100, will send us the song, we'll do your video. Might do that for one song I've written. The next one, it's about Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton, so I need to look and see legally what news footage out in the public domain you could put into a video, a compilation video. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Any plans for any online gigs?
I personally don't have plans for online.
We were talking about it before we started the podcast, weren't we?
I know. Somebody would say to me, "Why don't you do an acoustic thing, Karen?" I was like, "I think people are suffering enough."
I'm sure it'd be great.
It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't. It just doesn't appeal to me. I'd rather get the videos done and put some singles out and keep shiting on Twitter. Yeah. And then obviously 99.9% of my gigs have been rescheduled. So get back next year, get back on the road, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it all works out scheduling wise. I'm worried that because I've had quite a few people postpone things, and then I've just got a feeling everybody's going to want to postpone them for the same time, and suddenly you've got 4 tours and you've got to pick which one you want to do. That's my issue, because obviously I work with different projects and stuff.
Yes. I've already had one clash where the gigs are over an hour apart and they're festivals, and I'm like, well, if you put me on early and you put me on later, we're all happy. So we all need to be realistic about this, So
yeah,
we'll see.
Cool. Well, I won't keep you too much longer, Kat. I just want to do one more thing, is that I've asked every guest that's come on so far to do this little section that I call One Night Only. And basically, I don't know if you're into football, actually. Are you a football fan?
No.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm assuming you're going to opt for the second option then. So either I've been asking people either to pick a fantasy 5-a-side football team that they could be in, or a super group that they could be in. So if you could do one night only, a gig with whoever, alive or dead, who would it be? Who would be in your band?
Okay. Oh shit. I can't remember people's names when I need it. I would have Brandon Flowers.
Cool.
On
he's such a weirdo, though.
I'm vocalist, right? I'm still lead vocalist.
Yeah, you're lead vocalist. He'd have to be backing vocals.
Okay. Oh no, so I'm going to have to bin Ashby off, aren't I? Okay, so I'd have Brandon Flowers. He'd be Ashby. He'd be my wingman. He's a great voice, really good guitarist. I'd have Peter Hook on bass.
Cool.
Who would I have on Dave Grohl drums?
That's a good shout.
Yeah, I'd have him on drums. Who would I have on keys? Let me think. Can't remember really good keyboard players. Names, actually. I can't think of any good keyboard players' names. Can you?
Do you know what? I was just on the phone earlier. Actually, he said to say hello to my friend Mike Lindup from Level 42. He said to say hello to you, and he's a brilliant keyboard player.
All right, we'll put Mike. Let's put Mike. Yeah.
Mike's in by proxy.
I always remember he used to act out the lyrics. He's like mime all the lyrics. Da 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 da. All the things. Yeah. Okay, we'll put Mike on keys. There you go.
Okay.
And who else do we want? I'd still put Lily Gonzalez on percussion. She plays with us. She plays for Tony Hadley. She plays with us in all the 80s things. Lily Gonzalez, she's an amazing percussion player and backing vocalist. So, and I probably have Pink on backing vocals because I'm still the star, right? So put Pink on BVs. Yeah, Brandon's on BVs and lead guitar. I would put him on rhythm. Is he a good lead guitarist, Brandon?
I don't even know if he plays guitar.
I think he does. Well, let's put Ashby back on lead.
Ashby back in, yeah, fair enough.
Brandon can be rhythm and BVs, yeah.
As long as it doesn't clash with one of our gigs. All right, Carol, thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
Really
Take care. And we'll all see each other again at some point, but it just is fucking weird.
Yeah, it is fucking weird.
It is fucking weird. All right, babe.
So there we have it, episode 2 of Stayin Alive. Thank you so much to Carol Decker. What a brilliant sport and an amazing person. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. Make sure to go and check out their brand new single, Be Wonderful, which is available now. I also really want to get my hands on one of those heart and soul autobiographies, and I suggest you do the same. Please subscribe if you haven't done already, and remember to head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review, as it really helps us find new listeners. Next week's guest is a very talented young singer, songwriter and musician, lead singer for the band Only the Poets, Tommy Longhurst. This has been the Jesse Smith production, with music by Neil X, Mark Garfield and me. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, please email stayinalivepod@gmail.com. That's stayinalive with no G, pod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. But until then, stay safe, stay alive, and remember...
But it just is fucking weird.
Yeah.